Welcome to the Blackout Show, presented by the Guillen Grid, a show about the Chicago White Sox baseball, the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll debate what's working and what's not on the south side of Chicago. It's old school versus new school baseball. And most importantly, we're keeping all the receipts.
What up, what up, what up? It's 2025. This is the first 2025 edition of the Blackout Show. Luka Doncic got traded to the Lakers, so we're here to talk about this huge NBA trade because that's far more interesting than anything that's happening with the White Sox. I'm just kidding. Ozzie Jr. is shitting his pants right now, so we're doing the show without him. Gonzo's with us. Jay is with us. I'm Slav. Thanks for everybody that's tuning in.
No, he had one.
In 10 days. Baseball season's right around the corner. It was like 50 degrees the other day, so we're getting close. We're getting close, gents. How's everybody doing?
I'm excited. I'm just happy to talk about the Chicago White Sox with you, Slavko. I'm not going to lie. Like, I talk with Gonzo all the time, but just to have you here talking about the Chicago White Sox, it's just, what's better?
There's nothing better to do on a Sunday morning in February at 9 a.m. than talk about the Chicago White Sox. All 121 losses of them.
Come on.
And there's going to be another 100 this year. Just prepare for it. Gonzo, man, how are you?
I think you're lying to us. I think OJ had one too many free Mark Burley beers.
All right, so we'll start there. Mark Burley getting a statue in July. This was announced at the revamped SoxFest Live. Jay, you were there. You were our correspondent on the ground.
Yes.
What did you learn? How were things? How's John Shrewsbury?
So that was my first SoxFest ever. And
really?
Yeah. I've never been to Sox.
How?
Yeah, I've never been to SoxFest. Like, most of my baseball consumption, like before I started doing podcasts, I would probably go to 3 games a year. Like, I like watching baseball like at home. Like, so I'm at a
drinks are free at home.
Yeah, so exactly. We'll get to that a little later, but it was I recommend it for if you're a fan, just because you don't get these opportunities to be within arm's reach of these guys. Like, if you're content creators like us, we're going to spend 6 to 8 months a year talking.
We're not
about
content creators.
Yeah, we are. We create the content. We will talk about these guys for 6 to 8 months. And it was just amazing, me being a homebody, couch potato, to be within arm's reach. So it was I would do it every year. Like, I'm already hooked. Like, I'm doing it every year.
So I was going to ask you, like, how did it compare to previous SoxFest? I can't believe you've never gone to one before.
Never.
Why?
I just don't know. Like, I wasn't interested to go.
Okay.
I wasn't as interested.
From what it seemed like to me, it was obviously a much smaller venue than previously. They've had it at, I think it's the Hilton on Michigan Avenue. They did it there for a few years. It's been in a few different locations, but generally it's a huge hotel or like convention center style. They have a ton of different kind of events throughout the day. There's a whole itinerary. You get to meet the players up close and personal, but it's really more so like the Q&A type stuff was what they did in the past. And then you would have just massive, autograph signings. People be lined up for an hour to get Harold Baines' autograph or whatever. This felt and looked like it was way more intimate, for lack of a better term. So I guess props to the White Sox for actually kind of doing this. Were you there when they booed Jerry?
No, I think that was Friday. I went the Saturday after.
Okay.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
overall, it was a good experience.
Absolutely. I'm doing it every year.
Okay. How many folks from White Sox here? Let's see the photo. I'll pull it up for you. How many folks from White Sox Twitter did you run into?
Well, I seen a couple. I seen Peyton, Liz, Gabe, of course, gave me the belt. The 108 had their live show the Saturday I went, and somehow, some fucking way, they were brought up when they were talking on stage. Unfucking real. And I saw a lot of different people. I saw the Bums there too, right before I went to go take that picture with Harold Bain. So like you said, Slav, it was a very intimate experience, especially when you spend hours scrolling through Twitter, seeing these people's stuff, and then you get to, cheers with them with the White Sox. So it was a nice experience for me. Like my favorite part, right, was when we first go in, is crowd of people, like we're like sardines in that one little lobby. First person I see come steamrolling down was Gabe. Now I haven't seen Gabe in a few months. Like every time I see Gabe is baseball related. This is one of the few times where I tried to squeeze the life out of Gabe because I was happy to see him and happy to be around White Sox culture with him. So that was my favorite part, because it was like once you get in, like they give you the lanyard. Once you get in, you like, all right, now we're here. And then the people just start funneling in. Gene Honda was announcing everybody. Like watching Gene Honda do that when you could only hear him walking the concourse and stuff. That shit was cold. Like it was cold. I'll do it again. Once Gabe gave me the belt and I had like my first 3 old fashions, it was over with. It was cooked. It was cooked.
Justin agrees with you, saying SoxFest was amazing. Every time I think of Gene Honda, I think of 2 different. Maybe I'll ask you guys this. You guys have gone to a fair number of games. When you think of Gene Honda's voice, what player introduction do you think of?
Paul Konerko.
Yeah, for me, it's Konerko and Frank Thomas. Like Gene has such a unique voice. So yeah, I mean, good for the White Sox for putting this on. They had to nail it because obviously this fan base right now is pretty frustrated, to say the least. And from all, I guess reviews, everything went pretty well, other than Jerry getting booed.
I just want to one last note about SoxFest. Like, an underrated part of my night was I was in line to go see Hagen Smith, Coach Montgomery, Jonathan Cannon. They were upstairs, like up the little ramp.
Was it like a Q&A thing? Like they were up on the stage or whatever?
No, not even on stage. It was just like they had their little section, with the Sox, the same setup as Harold did. So basically another photo op, nice to meet you, whatever. I was in line to go see those guys, and I didn't even get to make it because I was talking with other Sox fans about Dynasty baseball with those players that I'm in line to go see, Slavko.
Yeah, I mean, if you are the type of person to attend a SoxFest, you are either a very hardcore White Sox fan or just in general a huge baseball fan. I mean, that's just it's a niche thing to do, right? Like
yes.
Your average Joe fan who maybe like watches 2 White Sox games a year is not going to go to SoxFest to go see a bunch of guys that they've never seen on a major league field. That's the other thing. Like when you see the lineup of all the dudes that they trotted out there, like how many actual Major League Baseball players were in attendance that you saw, Jay? Like currently expected to be on the Major League roster on opening day.
Jonathan Cannon.
Like was Andrew Vaughn there?
I didn't see Vaughn.
He had
but once again, I was the day after. So everybody that got introduced, like on the big boy roster, was introduced that Friday, the day before.
Yeah, the White Sox officially said on their site that Andrew Vaughn had something going on or something that couldn't attend it. They put the official message out, so I think he was supposed to be there.
Justin's getting his bachelor's in sportscasting. Gene Honda gave him advice. Gene is a good dude. Yeah. You always see him around the ballpark, and if you do see him like before a game, like say hi to him because he will say hello. Obviously, Justin has firsthand experience too. Justin, thanks for watching, man. Appreciate you tuning in at 9:20 on a Sunday morning to talk about the Chicago White Sox. Gonzo, we won't even say what time it is in your time zone. That's insane. So what was your ultimate highlight, Jay, from SoxFest?
Harold Baines, and being able to look him in the face and tell him like how proud I was of him and how proud my family, of him. Like, I've never seen him play. Never. The only thing I have is Ken WO and Baseball Reference, and now not Guy.
Wow, what a duo.
Yeah, I'm serious. Like, he's a legend, Slavko, and I went.
A Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer, and I got an opportunity to, like I said, be well within arm's reach, and to let him know. Like, if that was my last day on earth, at least I had the opportunity to tell Harold Baines how proud me and my family was of him. Like, that shit was just unreal. Like, that's why I would do SoxFest every year. I would want to tell him that every year.
And knowing Harold, he just went, he gave you like a quarter smile. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he was looking at me like I was one of the weirdos from White Sox. Does he know?
He would never look at you like you are one of the weirdos on White Sox Twitter. No way. He would never look at you and say, this kid lives online. No shot. Well, I'm glad that you had a good time. We have to give props to the White Sox and Brooks Boyer and his crew for putting this on. Outside of honestly, like, I haven't heard a single complaint other than the fact that Jerry was there in person and everybody booed him. Which, I mean, you're giving him money by attending this event, so he's probably laughing his way to the bank. Actually, we know for a fact he is. That's just what he does. But shout out to the White Sox for putting this on. Gonzo, would you go to an event like this if you were around?
I feel like I would, if maybe in a couple more years, like once we actually had something going forward here. Once we this
couple of years
core is hopefully developed. Yeah. Right now it's just, this shit just sucks right now to look at the roster right now. But
let's do a podcast on Sunday morning, you said.
I didn't say it. However, I mean, at least Justin got to see, that was Saturday, right? The prospects right now. Yeah.
That's all they have.
Yeah, you were there to see Braden Montgomery, so I think that would have been worth it to go this year, at least get the first look at him.
Yeah, I was excited when Gene announced his name, like in the introduction when we first got in. I was like, future.
But also like Logan Smith and Logan Schultz and Hagen Smith.
Holy shit!
Like,
he's gonna botch two different people.
The
Logan
contrast.
Schultz is not a real person, and neither is Dan Smith.
Noah Schultz, my bad. Noah Schultz and Hagen Smith. Like, have you saw someone posted a picture
of Rami Gonzalez?
No, what Noah is like 6'11" or something, or 6'9". He's like in that range.
Yeah,
and
he's
then
a monster.
He's I think he's technically listed at 6'9" right now, but he's like 14 years old, so he's still gonna grow.
But like the contrast with him versus like Hagen Smith, and then like your average person is like it's so like, if I was one step next to him, it'd be worse than the Jim Thome photo.
I would low key go to SoxFest just to see Gonzo take pictures with everybody else, just to see.
I mean, I've stood next to both of you guys, so I can imagine what that felt like for you, Gonzo.
I'm 5'2".
And Noah Schultz he's probably got like a full 3 inches on me. Pause. So, big kid. Like, I was reading I think it might have been Baseball America, one of these prospect websites recently. You know, all these rankings start coming out of the top 100, blah blah blah, and there's a really solid shot that Noah Schultz might be the tallest player in Major League Baseball history by the time he's done. I think it's still John Roush, right? So the White Sox really love their tall boys. Milwaukee's best ice, 99 cents back in the day. Good times.
I know it.
Actually, terrible times. You have a few of those to start your day. It never ended well. Good times. No, that was good times. Noah Schultz, Hagen Smith, like, that's the future. Braden Montgomery, to me, I think I wasn't on the episode you guys did after the Crochet trade. To me, that's the reason the White Sox did that trade. I think they like Kyle Teal. I don't know that he sticks at catcher, and I don't know that they really even care. Braden Montgomery, we know from that draft class, the White Sox were very high on him. He's obviously never taken an at-bat yet in the minors because of his injury. Was it a broken ankle, like an Achilles? It was something with
broken ankle,
right? Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, a lot of the prospect rankings, like every little bio you read, he's usually in the 50 to 100 range from what I've seen, kind of consensus so far. But every single one pretty much says once this guy gets healthy, we expect him to skyrocket up this list. And that's obviously what the White Sox are hoping for. Their scouting staff really likes him. That's the X factor, right? You don't really know what you're going to get out of him as a professional. Not that you know what you're going to get out of any prospect, but at least with Kyle Teal, they have a semblance of an idea of what they're getting, his player profile. They have an idea with Montgomery too. They've just never seen it against, other minor league staffs and whatnot subject.
Well, yeah, and that's the reason, like, the player profile is the reason why I think Kyle Teal is going to be the eventual left fielder. Because even though there's a considerable size difference between Kyle Teal and Andrew Benintendi, they have the same skill set. I mean, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to slug average to maybe above average in good settings. They're going to play solid defense, but what you want is that contact tool, and he's going to have to be the bat in the lineup. And I'm going to tell you why. Guys like Miguel Vargas, like, they aren't really going to help you exponentially swinging the bat. Like Miguel Vargas, his value is his on base. That means taking ball 4 more than strike 3. Sometimes that don't lead to runs, but Kyle Teal being able to initiate offense with at least touching the baseball and creating action, you need that. And I think Benintendi, along with one of these relievers like Bryce Wilson or even James Karinchak down the stretch, I think they're going to get gone, and that's going to be the perfect opportunity for the White Sox to at least kick the tires. Because Slavko, we was talking about before we started recording, like, if you look at Kyle Teal, like, really positionless because he's not the catcher of the future. He's not really exponentially good enough offensively to force him at a spot. You're going to have to create some room there, at least if you want to get that, at least see what you got.
Well, shit, they don't have much. So, I mean, you've got to give anybody a chance. That, to me, that's one of, I think, the biggest storyline for 2025 is they have nothing right now. Like you were saying it before we started, Jay. When you put this lineup on paper, this is like the worst lineup in White Sox history. Like, if you thought last year was bad in scoring runs, this season is going to be really, really bad. Unless for some reason Luis Robert has an MVP type year, in which case he's gone at the deadline anyway. Or if for some reason Andrew Vaughn has a true breakout season, in which case he's gone at the deadline. Like, there is nothing to look forward to offensively except for get Brian Ramos as many at-bats as you can. Get Miguel Vargas as many at-bats as you can. Figure out who these guys are, what they can be. That's literally all that they have to do this year. Like, goal number 1 for Will Venable and the staff, and I guess Chris Getz and his staff, is what's currently there that might be a part of the future. And realistically, it's, I mean, offensively, like, Brooks Baldwin, you're going to give him every opportunity. Miguel Vargas, you're going to give him every opportunity. Brian Ramos, you're going to give him every opportunity. That's pretty much
Meadroth,
it.
Too.
Who?
Chase McGraw, too.
Oh,
Meadroth,
yeah, sure. Him, that guy. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, that's all that you have right now. That should be plan A, B, and C, is whatever you have that you think might be a major league piece. You have to give them every single day at bats and reps to see what you've got. And if they don't, that's a failure on the organization, unless, like a guy like Colson or someone from AAA or AA kind of forces their way in. Okay, that's understandable. But I mean, I think you're probably going to see Teal in the big leagues this year at some point, right? I mean, the good news is September, this team is going to look way different than it does in April. And I think if you could fast forward to September, get through all the 100 losses first, and see what, the next kind of core, theoretically, of White Sox hitters and pitchers is going to be, that's the exciting part of this season.
And I got to give Chris Getz and Mr. Barfield credit, because look at how the species of player the White Sox have filled the lineup. Now, we look like the island of misfit toys, but 60% of the guys in this lineup, Slavko, can play multiple positions. Rojas, Lenin Sosa, Miguel Vargas, you've been forcing him. And I think Brian Ramos is going to touch a couple of parts of the diamond, including DH. So once, at least we started
DH isn't on the diamond.
Yeah, but just another spot in the lineup.
I got you.
Like he's penciled in. But at least we're there. We're talking about Kyle Teal right now, moving around space to space because left field is an option. We don't know if Vaughn is gone and Miguel Vargas is the only one left. Miguel Vargas isn't stopping Kyle Teal from getting reps at first base, especially at this point in the game. So with you already giving your team an opportunity to start being more versatile, then you can start acquiring more versatile players on a higher talent level. So I'm gonna give you a prime example, right? There's a guy out there that's willing for trade, right? His name is Luis Arias, and he's gonna be the future of what Major League Baseball is going through. If you look at how San Diego won a lot.
I disagree.
If you look at how San Diego won a lot of games, they didn't win a lot of games last year down the stretch because of Tatis Machado. They won a lot of games because Donovan Solano was giving them quality at bats. Now, you're not going to build a team around Donovan Solano because of his age, but you're going to figure out who can you grab at a young age that you can move around the diamond. Look at how the Yankees just struck gold with a Jazz Chisholm trade. He got traded as an outfielder, moved to third base for the Yankees, and now he's going to be the everyday second baseman for them. We got to keep finding licks like that.
So you're talking about Arise is the future as far as versatility.
Yes.
Not necessarily like his style of play, because obviously, okay, I was going to say.
No, because the Padres are going to use him at second, first, DH as well. Like, you need guys, talent that you can move around. Look at what the Dodgers, the success they had just by being able to move Mookie.
Yeah, but I mean, those guys have to be able to do it at a high level, obviously, at multiple positions. But I agree with you, having versatility. To your point, like Chris gets,
our front office got to do their job. Find talent that you can move around.
That's a good point, and you'd ideally like them to be plus defenders at least in one of these positions. You know, like I don't know that you can say that for maybe some of these guys that are currently in that role for the White Sox, but like I said, you've got to give them the opportunity to do that. I mean, I think as a player, generally they would tell you, I'd rather know, hey, I'm the second baseman. I'm going to bat second every single day. And that's their mindset. Not everybody. I mean, Luis Arias is one of the best players in baseball for a reason, because he is an incredible hitter. You can't really strike him out. He's very difficult to get out when he does put the ball in play, but he's also like reliable and you can just do anything that you want with him. That's a rarity. So yeah, if you can find a bunch of Luis Arias, you're gonna have a good time.
But we can't even find one.
Well, so, I mean, not every team is looking for a Luis Arias because there's only one of them. I mean, there's not many guys that are that good offensively that you can kind of, based on matchups, move around the diamond. You want to get in a lefty and against, so-and-so or whatever. Those are the matchups that I think platoons in general, to your point, are kind of, I don't want to say making a comeback, but like, I think you're going to see a lot more of that where there's just not many dudes who are that good offensively anymore to just say, he's our right fielder. He hits there in the 5-hole every single day. And whether it's lefty or right.
Dude, we just grabbed Austin Slater to your point. We grabbed Austin Slater because he could play 3 outfield positions and beat the hell out of left-handed pitching. A niche move. Not one to blow the doors off, but you're looking for a species of player. It's great.
Gonzo, what are you who are you, I guess, most looking forward to watching? Like what are the storylines that intrigue you for this season?
Personally, it's whenever Brady Montgomery gets here, but as far as
don't count on 25.
Yeah, no, that's gonna be a hot minute here, but more so like for roster build, I'm definitely interested in the Cuero and Teal battle at catcher because that's just fundamentally that's important for up the middle of the diamond. Um, and I mean, I think it's going to come down to Cuero, but at least at catcher. But for the fact that Getz emphasized that Teal played multiple positions in college, I think Justin hit on the head in our original pod on it that Teal's probably going to be somewhere at like either left field or first base, one of those two. So for me, it's however that battle comes out to be. It's figuring out where the other guy's going to be, even if he does develop in the MLB, because obviously we know how prospects are. You know, it's so easy for them to be a bust, you know, well, not be a bust, but not even to end up at the MLB. So out of the guys that are there, I mean, I hope all four make it. You know, and Teal, Cuero, Montgomery, and Gonzalez, and you just never know with these prospects. But at the end of the day, it'd be so nice if we could get Cuero and Teal for sure on the diamond together. But even I think one of the bigger lines is what is Ryan Fuller as a hitting coordinator? What is he going to get out of these guys? Because we haven't seen development out of position players for our White Sox over a decade. So if he can squeeze out, the most out of Vaughn and Robert, that's beneficial, and I hope we can do it. But it's not even just those two. I mean, if we can see them get adjusted, at least we feel good about the hitting coordinator that was brought in. Otherwise, we have to keep looking for someone that can come in and be a good teacher and develop these guys, because that's what our organization has struggled with the most is development. So, but if he
Development of
hits,
hitters.
yeah,
To be
development of
fair.
hitters, yeah, and let's just say Luis Robert does stay healthy, go off, fantastic, because that just upends his value at the trade deadline. Because we've seen some rumors at his lowest value, so I only can imagine what we can get if he's at his highest value. And for us, that's what we need, because you need another, ideally, 2 to 3 more pieces at least to start filling out this roster more in the lineup at least.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, you need 9 pieces. Like nobody that's going to be on the opening day lineup, unless Vargas kind of breaks out. I don't see anyone on this opening day roster being a part of the next White Sox contender. So that's what I was getting at with September is what we really want to see, because what happens early in the season is going to be mostly irrelevant. Yeah, I mean, Fuller is, highly thought of, and everybody, was pretty pleased with that hiring. But like, he's also not a magician. He's not just going to turn shitty baseball players into good baseball players. There's a track record, and those guys have that for a reason. So when we look at the off-season additions, nobody's going to argue that the White Sox won the offseason this year. Josh Rojas, Austin Slater, Mike Tauchman, Matt Tice, Martin Perez, Bryce Wilson, Shane Smith. Those are the additions that you're pretty much going to see on the Major League. What's up, Jay?
I just want to speak on Rojas and Tauchman behalf. They're my style of players. Like, just take the stats out of it.
Mediocre.
Yeah, exactly. Mike Tauchman, a fucking savage in the box, for lack of a better term. Every time he digs in, you're going to get a professional at bat. So guys that are sitting at the top step on the railing, watching him do his business as a guy that you don't think is all that athletic, you don't think he's all that good offensively. Well, he just took Tarek Skubal, a left-handed pitcher, against a left-handed hitter, to 8 pitches, and he worked a walk. He has that gene. Josh Rojas, Brian Ramos, strained his quad. Instead of playing right field today, you're going to have to play third, Josh Rojas. No problem, because I've been there, done that. Like, I want the White Sox front office to get these guys back into a habit of routine, because being professional in this game, it's all about your routine. Every day. Baseball is a grind because it's every day. No more optional meetings. Nothing is optional. Demanding.
Well, that's going to have to be the Will Venable effect. And we've been, crying for this since Pedro Grifol had his press conference, because everybody thought everything he said was God's gift to baseball. Like, everything he said was everything that everyone wanted to hear, but none of it actually happened. There was zero actual accountability, and none of it actually was on display on the diamond. That's the biggest problem. That's all anybody wants to see out of a Will Venable team is, will they play hard? That's it, because you have nothing else to really look for. So Will Venable, if he's a decent manager, maybe makes this 105, 100 loss team, like at best. And that's assuming, there's some second half guys that get called up and, play well. I just don't really see how this team on any way, shape, or form is like even remotely decent this year.
So effort is all I'm looking for, because the starting pitching is going to be better. I'm not going to lie. Your starting pitching is going to be better. Overall, you got that working for you. If you want your defense to be better, give me more effort. If you want your base running to be better, take your ass to meetings.
But why do you say that the starting pitcher is going to be better just by default?
Because I think we have more talent, like a higher ceiling going into 2025 than we had in 2024.
And there are a lot of good lineups in this division.
I know.
How do you have higher upside in your rotation than last year when Crochet and Fetty just went off?
Fetty was 31 years old and Crochet was
I'm saying, but their production though.
Yeah, but I mean,
they're both all-star caliber pitchers.
Yeah, but the only reason you say that is because we don't have a sample size on the guys that I have here yet.
Well, what guys are you talking about? Like Martin Perez, there's a reason he was signed.
I'm talking about the Drew Thorpes. I'm talking about the Sean Burks. Like,
what sample size do you have of Sean Burke compared to?
Did you see how he finished last year?
Just 19 innings though.
It doesn't matter.
That's a small sample size.
Yeah, but I like that sample size going into 2025 in those arms. Like, I know for a fact, I'm not gonna ask Jonathan Cannon for $10K per 9. I am gonna ask him to keep his whip around 1.1 or 1.2. Due to the
if Jonathan Cannon has a 1.1 whip, I mean, you're talking about one of the better pitchers in the American League.
Without striking
stuff
out.
Aside, like that would be.
Flacco, he only needs his defense to be accountable.
He had a 1.327 whip last year.
It could go down.
He's at 1.1.
It could go down.
I mean, look, I'm excited about Jonathan Cannon too. 23 years old, 124 innings. Like he was above everyone's expectations, no question about it. But he had a 4.5 ERA, a 1.3 whip.
Justin said it can go down.
Let me see. What was his?
I like what I'm working with to start 2025 than what I was for 2020.
I mean, his FIP was 4.65, so that already indicates a small level of luck. This is your number one pitcher.
But who's lucky in regards to the Chicago White Sox?
So then why are you expecting better luck?
It's not going to be luck. It's not.
I like Jonathan Cannon, but I think on a contending team, now I could be way wrong. He's still young. It's not like he's a finished product. I have a hard time seeing him being anything more than a number 4 on a good baseball team.
They said the same thing about John Lackey, World Series champion John Lackey.
Sure. And there's a reason why John Lackey is who he was and made as much money as he did. For every John Lackey, there's a million other dudes who are like Dan Wright.
Ooh.
Jonathan Cannon, pleasant surprise.
Sure, that's fine. But like Jonathan Cannon, pleasant surprise, still won't give you what Garrett Crochet gave you. He still won't give you what Eric Fetty gave you.
I don't know.
And you're filling out the rotation with Martin Perez, Bryce Wilson. And I guess Drew Thorpe had this elbow surgery and now he had a setback. It sounds like it's minor and he should still be fine for April. But like, is he going to be ready? Is he going to pitch in spring training like normally and do a full ramp up? I don't think that's the case right now.
Cannon, Davis Martin, Drew Thorpe, Martin Perez, Sean Burke. That's the 5. 3 out of those guys are decent upside. 3 out of those 5.
It still irks me that
That's 40%, by the way, that is not decent. Just to throw that out there.
It still irks me. It still irks me that
I know
Thorpe was the headliner for that Cease deal.
Oh, yeah.
Why does it irk you?
Because I really wish that the focus would have been similar to, on position players for Cease. And we could have, you don't know how many pieces that could have got. If that could get you another 1 or 2 position players in that deal.
Okay, but at the time, Noah Schultz, this was pre-Hagen Smith when that trade was made for Cease, right? So that's one less stud pitching prospect. Obviously pre-Drew Thorpe because they didn't have him before that trade. So it's not like they didn't need arms at the time.
I mean,
you're looking at it in hindsight.
You already knew, though, that his best pitch was a changeup and that the velocity was.
Yeah, but your boy Brian Bannister was all about that.
Wait,
I'm just saying there's more holes in your roster on the position player side than the pitching side.
But at the time of the trade, there was just as many holes everywhere.
Right.
The
but
only
you would want if your holes are position players over, one of them is going to be playing 5 days a week versus one getting 1 start a week.
Right. But what has more trade value? People are constantly looking for pitching. So if you stockpile pitchers, you can flip pitching for hitting. It's much more difficult to do the opposite. And obviously with the Crochet trade, they made the focus hitting because they had already stockpiled between prospects, trades, draft. I mean, they have more depth on paper in pitching in the minor leagues. Right? Do you follow? It's still early. I get it.
Well, not because at the time, Cease is your biggest asset. So for me, I'm still looking for that position player value, even at that time.
So are you just out on Iriarte and Thorpe? Because Cease is about to get traded again for the Padres, by the way.
Be honest with me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like you're out on both those guys?
I wasn't interested in that deal when it went down. And I've had that thought since it happened.
Right. And to your point, you've since day one have been skeptical about the return. But you were all in on Drew Thorpe a few months back, and you were all in on Iriarte.
Iriarte, that was junior.
Oh, dude, you were begging for him to get called up. You were talking about number 2 pitcher. Like, don't make me go and fucking pull this.
I wanted like our prospects to come up through the system, yeah. Because the guys that were on that roster at that time were just fillers. Like when you need to get an assessment on these guys, and we took forever getting them through the system. So, and I hope that's not the case going forward, like after spring training, like guys that prove themselves.
Bro.
What?
I can't believe.
Did I say in September, like I want to get these guys pushed up to get an assessment?
You're the old prospector, and you're giving up on my kids.
Okay, but
that does. I give up on a couple. That doesn't mean I'm going to give up on everybody.
How much can you assess in 1 month from a starting pitcher? Because you literally just said Sean Burke.
It gives you an idea. It gives you an idea of like which guys I really want to be here versus the guys that I put value wise to make deals with, negotiations with.
So what is it about Drew Thorpe? Because it sounds more like you don't like his makeup and like his stuff. Because
he's got 1+ pitch.
Okay, but he pitched pretty damn well. He had a few duds, but he pitched pretty damn well overall.
I just don't see that playing out at the major league level. 1+ pitch, and that plus pitch is a changeup. Like, I'm not too excited about it. I need at least 2+ pitches for me to get excited, like with Schultz and Smith.
Okay, what are Noah Schultz's 2+ pitches? Because right now he has 15 innings at the AA level? Like you
Yeah.
you can say right now against minor league competition,
Schultz is slider, fastball.
I don't know that his fastball is going to be a plus pitch at the major league level right now.
The movement on it, it's plus pitch.
Against A-ball hitters, yes, and against AA hitters, sure. But unless he continues to develop that, like the slider is the only thing that we know is a plus pitch. There's still question marks about his fastball.
It's the best in the system. It's the best in the minor leagues, the slider.
Yeah, I just said we know that that's the true plus pitch. We don't know that about his fastball.
And Gonzo, we talked about this
And I
the
think
last
that
time.
the cutter is third, if I remember right.
But now you're just gonna,
Cutter
if I
chain.
remember right, it's a plus pitch too.
He's got 3 plus pitches. I just can't remember that third one off the top of my head.
Go ahead,
I
Jay.
think I'm pulling this out my ass. There's actual data on
No,
it.
because now all of a sudden we're just pulling plus pitches out of our ass. Like
No,
it's fucking,
there's actual data on it, Slav.
okay.
Go
Jay,
look
what
at
were you gonna
TJ
say?
stats.
I was
It's
just
on
gonna-
Twitter. He posts it all the
I
time.
was just going
Against A-ball competition.
Okay. Well, a lot of guys coming with these plus pitches still hold it in the bigs. You're highly touted prospects.
Jay, what were you gonna say?
'Cause you're gonna tell me Paul Skeens this plus pitch data wasn't gonna rake at the MLB level.
Nobody saw him being this good.
I mean, I disagree because there's a lot of people
Oh
that
my
actually
God,
watch
you're
it.
fucking high. What are you
No,
talking
it's
about?
not.
There's nobody that thought he was going to be an ace day one, which is what he was. Nobody.
I disagree.
Okay.
I just want to say that Drew Thorpe's cutter has the opportunity to be a plus pitch. And with the amount that he uses his changeup so effectively, he needs something to run off his four seamer because the mile per hour difference isn't really too much of a gap to give a hitters something to adjust to. So he has to just change the plane. If he could manipulate that cutter and get it into a point to where he could grab strikes with it, he'll be straight. I think Gonzo, you giving up on a guy that has the makeup of a pure pitcher, and he could polish himself. All he needs is some mileage. I mean, I'm not really too much interested in Ariarte as much, but as far as I'm concerned about Drew Thorpe, I think we got an opportunity to mold a right-handed pitcher instead of getting blessed with left-handed success.
I just can't believe we're just pulling plus pitches out of our ass for a dude in who's pitched like 15 innings in AA. I like Noah Schultz too. That's the crazy thing. Like you make me sound like a fucking asshole with some of the things that you say. Like all of a sudden he's got 3+ pitches. If he had 3+ pitches, he wouldn't. Oh my goodness.
No,
Anyway,
it's just the modern day, like these prospect journeys. A lot of them, like Junior wants them called up right away, and just the modern day farm systems, they're holding them down, trying to take control of the contract, status. And
do you realize what you're saying? So you're telling me if I'm sitting here and I'm the White Sox general manager and I think Noah Schultz will be a dominant major league pitcher today, I'm just going to let him toil away in A-ball and AA?
it's being done. Look at Baltimore. They have all of the control right now on their prospects. And
so you know better
keeping
than the
them down.
Orioles organization of what they have in the minor league system. You know more
They're
about
showing it to
how
you.
they're going to be in the major leagues
They're showing it to you.
against AAA competition, against AA competition.
No, I'm telling you this. They're putting the control over their prospects and not bringing them up right away.
But they have a quality Major League Baseball team. They don't have to bring them up right away.
True, but they're not trading away during this window. They're hoarding the prospects right now.
That's a philosophy because they want longevity.
Right. But that's what I'm saying right now is it's the longevity factor too with.
Would you trade the White Sox organization for the Orioles organization right now?
You said the farm system?
Everything.
Oh no.
What would you rather
not
have from the
everything.
White Sox and the O's?
You said what would I rather have in the White Sox right now?
Anything from owner down to the fucking janitor. Tell me one thing you'd rather have that the White Sox have that the Orioles don't.
Pitching from the prospects. Name me a prospect pitcher in Baltimore right now.
Okay, that's fine, but like
that you'd
it's
rather have than
prospects.
Schultz and Smith.
They're prospects.
But you asked me one thing.
So Gonzo, let me ask you this:
Good
do the White
Lord.
Sox have a better offensive player than Cole Kauser right now?
No.
Colt Kauser is probably the 6th best player on that team.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's with Anthony Santander leaving.
I didn't say I'd take anything.
But I'm just saying,
White
like
Sox
we're
over
comparing
Baltimore
Colt
on
Kauser,
offensive wise.
but Colt Kauser will be the best offensive player in the White Sox organization right now.
Yep.
Samuel Basallo will be the best offensive prospect the White Sox have had in a long time. That's just 2 guys.
All right, let's keep this moving. I'm
This
just
prospect
dumbfounded. This
the
happens once
prospect
an
talk.
episode. Gonzo says something that leaves me totally speechless. All right, so spring training invites. Here are the schmucks that the White Sox
Come on, don't do my team like that.
might have a chance. Your boy Bobby Dahlbeck.
Wait,
Robert Vernon Dahlbeck, baby.
Who else we got? Omar Narvaez, our old friend. And then you got a lot of these invites. This is, to me, the more exciting part, obviously, is some of these young players that the White Sox invited that are within the organization. Mason Adams, that's a name to look out for. Peyton Pallette, Grant Taylor. I know we all love Grant Taylor. Noah Schultz, Hagen Smith from the left side. The 3 catchers, Hackenberg, Caro, and Teal. Tim Elko, Jay's boy, Jacob Gonzalez, Chase Madroth, Corey Julks, also Jay's boy, Braden Montgomery, Wilfred Veras. So an interesting collection of names. Is there any one that you guys think has a chance to break the opening day roster off of those? What up, Baloney?
Probably Narvaez. Probably just because the White Sox are starving for left-handed hitters.
Let me put that back up again.
Where's he going to play?
Yeah, exactly. Fuck, I don't know. Probably Bobby Dahlbeck. I mean, because you don't really need Nick Maton because you already got Rojas on the roster. They're the same guy.
This is where we're at, guys.
Come on, man. Why you be doing this, Slavko?
Wait, you re-ask the question again.
Do any of these fucking guys matter, Gonzo? That's the question. Does anyone on this fucking list actually mean anything?
For 2025, you're saying?
Just in general.
Yeah. A lot of the guys.
Yes, we know. Okay, outside of Schultz, outside of Taylor, outside of Hagen Smith, take those 3 names out. Okay, Braden Montgomery too.
Can you ask
You said Cuero?
I don't
Do
think
you think Cuero gets a legit shot at the big league level? And by legit, I mean more than half the season.
No, he probably get like 150 at bats.
Hold up, time out. He was the only one that got a MLB invite in September.
So he's the only one that got 4 guys in front
He's
of him.
the only one that has actually had linear progression in our system.
Linear progression does not exist.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, maybe if you're talking
line?
about A, AA, AAA, big leagues, that's the only linear progression. Development
his
does not.
His slash line actually progressed at each level.
The White Sox are.
Think about it.
So what are you saying? What are you saying?
He's actually producing. Like, he's the only hitter that we've had that shows progression at each level.
Okay.
And we haven't seen that in a while.
So do you think he'll play more than half the season in the big leagues?
I think that's what the question should be, is like,
that was the question that I asked. Yeah.
I put on Twitter, like, I think it was like when this came out, actually, I reposted it and stated that if these guys in spring training, the ones that got the invite, actually earn it in spring training like Colas did last year, they should get a call. They should earn their spot on the roster.
I
And
agree with that.
I think I gotta go back. I think I did like out of that list for these invites, I think I put Cuero and Palette in there, or Palette. Those are
You
the
think
only
Paulette
two.
would be in the big leagues this year?
I think because he was where did he end up? He ended up in Charlotte at the end of last year.
Let's look it up. But I mean,
I think it was it Scott Merck? I think it was Merck that posted that he's got a shot at what the rumors are right now is that he's a shot at being the closer
in the big leagues.
in the big leagues. Yeah.
I mean,
And Chase Maroth, I think that's another one that will probably earn a spot too right off the gate.
Okay,
Paulette
but
at the end of the season had 15 innings of pretty good production at AA.
So
180 ERA, 16 Ks, 5 walks. But other than that, I mean, he spent a majority of the season at Winston-Salem with a 5 ERA. And then in the Arizona Fall League, granted, it's only 4 outings, but he got shelled.
yeah. And Gonzo, you got to think like if you're gonna give Peyton Paulette some run as a closer, that means you're taking some trade value away from the Karen Chacks and everybody else because Paulette's going to be eating that run unless you wait until you unload some of the bullpen so he can have a clear path. But either way, there's going to be a lot of stuff to happen before Cuero and Paulette could really get their feet dug into their niche because there's people ahead of them for a reason, like literally.
And another two I want to add, Mason Adams. Both Mason Adams and Trey McGough, they were at Charlotte at the end of last year and knocking on the door. So I wouldn't be surprised with those two. And I really wish, OJ wasn't sick because if I remember right, Trey was over there in Venezuela for a little bit. So he got to see him live. But he was another bullpen arm that I was looking at in September last year, hoping that he would get the shot at a couple innings, see what he has.
Mason Adams intrigues me a lot.
Yeah.
Just because he's constantly been this very kind of like underrated name in the system. He's never been like a top 10 guy. He's number 10. I guess he ended last season at MLB Pipeline at number 10, but he's never gotten, the attention of some of the other bigger names in the minor league system from the pitching side. And even in that crazy AA rotation last year where everybody was lighting it up, like he had arguably the best numbers and most consistent production for a prolonged period of time. So I'm very interested. He's still 24. I'd love to see him get a shot this year in the big leagues. But I mean, when you have some of these, the Martin Perez's and Bryce Wilsons of the world that are going to theoretically eat up some innings, I mean, that allows you to bring some of these guys on for spot starts or, if they have 3 good starts in a row in the minors, you bring them in and try to, I guess, carry that momentum over into their big league debut or in stretches in the big leagues. This is all we really have to look forward to this year. Like, you're going to see a lot of young players make their debuts in the big leagues this season. And that's really the only exciting part. I like Mason Adams. Of those spring training invites, I mean, other than the top prospect guys, I don't really know that there's going to be a ton. There's always, one guy who has a great spring and might break in and then have like 3 good games to start the season and then go back to being a mediocre Major League Baseball player. That's probably more likely that's going to happen. But it would be nice to have any one of these younger players kind of break out, so to speak, and there has to be some surprises. Like you have to have, I don't want to use Gavin Sheets as an example, but like I'm trying to think of guys who kind of came out of nowhere to be producers for the White Sox. There haven't been a ton of them, but I mean, there's a lot of opportunity. If you are any of those guys in those non-roster invites, those spring training invites, you are sitting there going, this franchise sucks ass. There is not a single player other than Luis Robert and Andrew Vaughn, I guess, that have like their name in permanent marker on any position or any spot in the lineup. And that's in the rotation, that's in the lineup, that's in the field. So there's a lot of opportunity. That's really all we have to look forward to. I don't know.
That's the only reason, Slab, I just want to touch on this a little bit, that I push on you a little bit, was because there are those people out there that, like I bring up, right, that they have to earn their opportunity with these invites. But if they do prove it and they earn it, that they should be given that spot. But there's going to be people on the other side of this on Twitter that will say their prospects, we have control over the longevity. They don't deserve that just yet. And it's like, I don't know. Because if this is a rebuild, I want to see them at the bigs right now, so I can have that assessment.
Put yourself in Chris Getz's shoes. If you know you're going to lose 100 games again, like what's the benefit of starting the clock for an Edgar Quero right away? And like, what are you going to get out of it? Like, oh, okay, he's a really good player. We still suck, and now you're just having him producing at the major league level. For what?
Because for me, the growth comes at the major league level.
The White Sox, I just want to say the White Sox don't have anybody offensively good enough to where their opportunity changes the timetable. Like in baseball, the timetable grants guys an opportunity. You know what I'm saying?
Like I say, I think Quero would be the only one.
But he's a catcher. Like the offensive ceiling is so low, and
but it's right up the middle. That's where the value is.
You have a catcher. You don't have a shortstop, and your center fielder is 1 foot out the door.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about the middle. I mean, we don't even have a real like ace. All we have is the thought of Edgar Quero as far as the spine of the diamond.
I think Quero gets if the White Sox were smart, Quero, and if they think that's the catcher of the future, and it's not Kyle Teal, then Quero should be catching damn near every day in spring training. Because whatever starting pitchers you think are going to be a part of the next good White Sox team, he should be catching those guys regularly to build that rapport with them. Obviously, he's already got, some innings under his belt in the minor leagues with some of these prospects. That's good, but you have to continue to develop that relationship. And as guys develop new pitches or whatever, he's got to be a part of that conversation if that's your catcher. If it's Kyle Teal, then the same thing applies to him. You've got to give him every opportunity to grow and get to know as many of these pitchers in the system as possible. That's what the reasonable thing to do would be. I guess, Corey Lee too, like he's got at least some innings under his belt last season at the big league level too. But they have to make a decision specifically with those guys, like who do we think is our actual catcher? You don't have to raise your hand. This ain't class. Just talk.
No, I'm just saying, I don't want to interrupt anybody, but I want to go to what the Mets did with Francisco Alvarez, because when he got drafted, the Mets rotation was already mature. So he had to literally work his ass off, not only to get his bat ready, but also get ready to block and call games for guys that actually have plus pitches, Gonzo. And like, people look at Francisco Alvarez right now and his slash lines and shit like, oh, he's not that good offensively. You literally have a catcher in the major leagues that could hit 25 home runs and also be a Gold Glove finalist, right? Like that's hard to find. He's not perfect with pop time, but the fact that he's attentive enough and he's done his homework as a young catcher to where he's absolutely killing, blocking and saving runs for the Mets and calling good games, having many different pitchers trust him. Like, we know how volatile guys like Edwin Diaz, Ryan Stanek are. You have a 24-year-old catcher that could rein those type of guys in. That's hard to find. That's hard.
Every team in Major League Baseball would like that. It's a very difficult position to develop. It's a very difficult position to find any sort of like everyday, like we got a guy.
Yeah.
It's tough to find a guy at the pitcher spot or at the catcher's position.
And the White Sox have an opportunity to finally groom one of their own. The thing is, we got to talk about the timetables. Look at who's going to be the opening day starters for the Chicago White Sox. Are those the guys that Edgar Cuero is going to be catching when it's time to get his number rang? Probably not. I mean, maybe
Exactly.
Drew Thorpe, maybe Jonathan Cannon. Everybody else, hasta mañana.
Right. So to my point, like what value do you get? Even if he has a great spring, what value do you get out of having him at the big league level from day one and playing? I don't know. I get your point, Gonzo. I understand.
Martin
like development
Perez, no
definitely
hitter,
happens.
One thing about
Development
that,
happens at the big league level. We know that for sure. You cannot be a good big leaguer until you face big league talent. But what do you have? I don't see what the benefit of it would be.
So for me, all right. When you look at, there's two paths of development. You need your development going through, the minors, and then at the big league level, you need at least 2 years of development at the big league level before you can say, okay, we're ready to take that next step. And where we failed at in the last rebuild was
So Paul Skeens is still is an unknown product. He still needs another year of big league development.
Yeah, because you go back and look at that last rebuild, they rushed the rebuild because they did those extensions off of just 1 year.
Well, that's a Rick Hahn thing. That has less. That's not like a rule of law. Like you have to have 2 years.
But that's all we've seen, from recent memory.
It works for the Braves.
Yeah, it works for them. I mean,
did
they win a World Series though?
90. Oh my God. I'm going to fucking block you from this goddamn episode. 95% of White Sox fans thought all of those extensions were a great idea by Rick Hahn. That's when he was being labeled a genius. Look at what they've done. They've locked up all these young players, all these young stars. 95% of people were in favor of all of those extensions. Obviously, Rick Hahn fucked that all up because they bought into 60 games of a COVID season and they thought, you know what? Yeah, this team's a World Series contender. And they did not properly evaluate their own roster. Eloy Jimenez is out of baseball, essentially. Yohan Moncada.
Come on, bro.
Luis Roberts on his way out. None of those worked out.
Tim Anderson's still employed.
Let's see what happens with the Angels. But, I mean, you got signed for pennies by the Marlins and then got cut. All of these guys that signed those early extensions did not work out. But at the time, damn near unanimously, everybody was in favor of those contract extensions.
That's not correct.
So, okay, let's say Edgar Cuero comes up and has a good season. He's a highly ranked prospect. He's produced at the minor league level. He has a good major league season. I'm not saying Chris Getz would go out and sign him to an extension right away. But again, if they did, and it was a reasonable number, and you continue to see that, linear progression, like you're saying, on paper, it makes sense.
No, I'm saying is on paper, I need to see it for another year. Great.
I feel like
you got one.
So no. Is he your guy or is he not? Like, if you think he's ready to be a big league catcher right now, all of a sudden, but I still need to see him do it for 2 years. But you were willing to fucking make Michael Kopech a number 2 pitcher after 3 spring training outings.
All right, that's just one season. I'm putting you in that position for one season. Like, I need to see that development for more than just one season. So, yeah, great. 2025, you produce, solid. Let's see what you do in 2026. You repeat that, fantastic. We're starting negotiations.
All right. So, again, the point is, what value do you get out of having him play every single day in the big leagues in 2025?
You start that assessment at the big leagues.
Okay.
For that growth.
If he's really good, All you've done is now raise his market value.
Mhm.
If you wanted to start negotiations, you've raised his price because he's developed at the big league level. You've wasted a year of control on a team that's going to lose 100+ games. Do you see what I'm getting at here?
I mean, I don't care because at the same time, that price at today's value, I'm taking. Then the next year's because it just keeps going up.
Oh, just like it did for Moncada and Jimenez and Anderson, right? The value just keeps going up.
Yeah, but you're still getting a good value.
No,
at that
no,
price.
not yeah. That's the whole point. That's what I'm saying.
What are you talking about? From 2019 to 2020, the value didn't go up that much. Think about it.
Of who?
For those extensions. If you waited another year, right? You're still marking in at that value at 2020.
Yohan Moncada
Going forward.
after the 2019 season would have been one of the high, like in theory, would have been due for a huge, an even bigger contract than he did get. Luis Robert wasn't even in the big league level yet.
Well, I would say not because he didn't produce in 2020, right?
It was 60 games.
Right.
This is my point.
Even
exactly.
if it's 60 games, he didn't continue that production.
Okay, and Jose Abreu won an MVP in 2 months of baseball.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, he didn't continue that production.
I don't even know what we're arguing at this point.
So would you have given it? You wouldn't have even been at that part of negotiations because you would have been like, well,
all right,
now we got to see Jay. We got to see more.
Now, I got a question. Edgar Cuero offensively is good enough for you to start his clock. So you mean to tell me Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz's timetable don't interfere with what you're doing with Cuero? Because I'm not calling Cuero up until he's ready to catch my future aces every day. Every day.
Those are two different comparisons, though.
But I'm
hitting in a pitcher.
Yeah,
because the hitting side of it, as soon as they are producing in AAA, I'm good to get them there. But the pitching side of it is different because, like, if I don't want my pitching, at least in this farm system, I don't want them going to Charlotte because that's a boombox. So as soon as you're good at AA, I'm good to go. But Schultz, how many innings did he finish up at?
But I'm saying, like, are you willing to start Cuero?
17 innings.
Are you willing to
start
Cuero's
Cuero's that's not enough
clock?
for me to even start that clock.
Okay, but Charlotte, he had 110 plate appearances. Talking about Caro at 21. So you're okay. You're like that. That's enough. You've seen enough.
Yeah, and clearly they did too.
26 games at AAA. You've seen enough. Like they already were okay with it, giving him that invite to the MLB in September last year. And clearly he was showing it when he was September? There. No, he just sat the bench. So why are you giving them props for, like, hey, it's a black ace in hockey. It's the same shit. Like, hey, come hang out. I'm
at least glad they gave him the opportunity. It sucks that he sat the bench.
It was beneficial for him,
but for me, that's like over the past several years. That's how it's always been. Is, you know, Sosa he comes up. We're sitting you for the both weekends that you're here. You go back to the minors. Like, we didn't see anything. We didn't get to see any assessment of him at the bigs when he got those invites. Not just Sosa, but that's all of the prospects on the hitting side that have come up through the system. They get the invite, they just sit the bench.
You want to know? You want to know what made the Braves extension so good?
That their players were actually good.
Exactly.
They know how to scout and develop talent. They know how to evaluate their own talent. And they know how to sign them underneath market value?
Gonzo, if you don't trust the Chicago White Sox developing offensive players, how can you sign off on them giving Edgar Cuero a premature
like I said, Cuero's the only one through the system to this point that's proven it.
But the species of Cuero as a player offensively, like, are you prepared for his floor? Like, his floor, he could just be Miguel Vargas. A switch hitting Miguel Vargas. Like, do you know what that does to your offensive lineup when you got two Miguel Vargases making outs? Nobody develops. And then you add on the fact that Hagen Smith nor Noah Schultz will be throwing competitive pitches to him. He'll be receiving pitches from Martin Perez. So it's just like, fuck. Now you literally wasted a 120 game season. To my point, I'm not calling up Edgar Cuero until, number one, you're talking about the middle of the diamond. I'm not going to have a shortstop or a center fielder by the time his bell gets rang because Luis Robert is gone. I don't have any of the pitchers that I want to go through with the future on the major league roster either. So it'll just be Edgar Cuero development. Like when Atlanta was given Cunha and Albies their extensions, like they got extensions because there was a couple players within the crop ready. It's just Edgar Cuero now. Who else is ready from the crop? Like you putting them on an island.
Well, that's why I say if you earn it out of camp, you earn it. You either earn it or you don't. And all those guys that you just mentioned, pitchers, are going to be there in camp.
All right. So let's say he hits 350 with a 950 OPS in spring training.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have to take into account who he's getting those hits off of. Again, like that's a small sample size. You're talking about a month of games against. Is he playing against the top guys? Like, is he getting at bats against actual major league hitters, or is he getting at bats against dudes who are non-roster invites? Like,
let me ask you a question, Gonzo. If Edgar Cuero
you just said before if you earn it, you earn it.
No, yeah, for some of those other guys, not the prospects.
So
I said if I said Cuero and what was it Paulette? I said.
Yeah, Peyton Paulette.
Yeah. I said if you're giving these guys the invite to earn it.
And the whole conversation we've been having for 15 minutes now is what benefit do you have, even if Caro does have a great spring?
Because we had the same conversation a year ago with Oscar Colas.
And how's that worked out? It's not like he hasn't gotten opportunities in the big league level.
Now that's a good, I mean, it is just one, but he earned it.
And where did that get him?
He had a good 2 weeks, and then it fell off. So you sent him back down. But then the thing is they kept playing it. So then they brought him back up. They didn't give him any more at bats.
So
they
it's
just had him on the bench.
It's Rafol's fault, right?
I think just organizational fault at that point for him, because they all right. This is how I see it. When you bring him back up that second time, give him the at bats. See where that growth from what he learned, what adjustments he made in the minors. Did that benefit him or not? And they didn't even give him the opportunity. They went back to that old approach of we're just going to sit him. And that's what frustrates me the most. Like you took on your ideology, you took a step forward, give him that opportunity, but then you went 2 steps back and not even allowing him to prove himself on what adjustments he made or didn't make.
He's got 301 plate appearances at the big league level with a 580 OPS. He's 26 years old.
And then you had Junior telling us that Houston had interest in trading for him.
Okay. And?
It just shows you.
Did they trade for him?
Or the Sox overvalued it? I don't know.
I have interest in trading for Gunnar Henderson. Does that mean that it's
possible? But we don't know. But we don't know what that value was that they were trading him for. Like, why didn't that trade go through?
It's irrelevant.
How is it irrelevant?
It's irrelevant. One team wants one guy, and now all of a sudden, he's worth a shit.
But it tells me they have an assessment. I'm not going to say it's better or worse than our assessment, but clearly they have more development in their system over the past 5 years than we have, the World Series that they have won. But you're telling me that contender is looking at this guy that you're sitting and saying, we want him, we can do something with him. But you look at our system, sitting him and saying, why are, We're
The
not even-
Orioles picked up Eloy Jimenez.
Yeah, true.
And what happened? They're a contender.
Mm-hmm.
Just because one team thinks, hey, we might be able to fix this guy, that doesn't mean, oh, his value must be higher than what it actually is. I agree with you. In general, I agree with you that they bungled the way that they handled the Colas situation entirely. I 100% agree with you there. That's on Rick. That's on Getz. That's on Han. That's on Pedro Grifol. But one team going, hey, we might be able to take a shot on this guy. That doesn't mean that they were going to bat him third in the lineup every day.
No, I don't think so either. But the fact that you got contenders out here interested in the guys that you're not giving opportunities to, and it wasn't just Colas. There was another one. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I think the Phillies. They'll come to me. And we did the same thing with Declan Cronin. We allowed him to go, and he just flourished with the Marlins. Not a contender, but again, that was talent that we didn't properly assess. Goes away and just completely flourishes.
Yeah, I mean,
and I was here saying, get this kid innings, and they didn't. Gave him a couple innings, and then
losing Declan Cronin isn't going to change the outlook of.
I mean,
I agree with your point. They had talent in house. They should have gotten a chance.
Let's just say, Slav, that he replicate. It's a hypothetical. I hate hypotheticals, but if whatever he did with the Marlins, if he replicated that this year in our bullpen, that's a trade assessment for you. That's trade value for you. Can it change things? I mean, can it change things? I don't know. If they get another position player out of that value that goes off for us.
Do you know what Declan Cronin's numbers were at the end of the season?
I don't remember.
70 innings, 4.35 ERA in the National League, 1.422 WHIP. Now his fielding independent, his FIP was actually like way lower. So there's an element of bad luck. 2.58. That's crazy good. But again, 26-year-old relief pitcher. Yes, would we have rather seen him than most of the dudes that they trotted out last year? 100%. But I don't think many people are going to lose sleep over Declan Cronin. But to your point, when you have Tim Hill come in and suck ass, and then he goes and he's a valuable player for a major league contender,
the World Series contender.
What's happening in that organization? What's happening in that clubhouse? That's what we're going to find out. And that's Will Venable's job, is to figure that shit out.
Good
Top
luck.
to bottom. They got to figure out how to fix this organization, because it's a absolute chaos. It's a zoo. And Chris Getz is seemingly doing everything on paper so far to make those changes. Last thing before we get out of here real quick. The international signings. Let's see.
Mm-hmm. And I pulled up Junior's. I found what he said. So real quick, some of these guys, obviously Junior saw in Venezuela.
These are all the guys the White Sox are going to trade in 5 years for more prospects.
Oh, man. And for I got to scroll up and find it again.
Oh, come on.
I just had it pulled up too.
Let me see your browser history, Gonzo. I don't know any of these guys.
You know what? From what I remember, I'm not even going to keep scrolling through it. Where's Escobar? Alan Escobar, right there. The outfielder out of Venezuela, Caracas. Tools wise, Junior said he reminded him of Bobby Abreu. That's saying a lot for this kid, but we'll see what you can do. But that says a lot for the talent as a talent evaluation at an early age. And Orlando / Slavko, help me out. Patino, is it?
Patino.
The outfielder that
Dude,
we got
your
from
last name is Gonzalez, Gonzo.
the
How you gonna ask the Serbian guy to help you
outfielder.
out with a Spanish name,
Oh,
motherfucker?
fuck.
Hey, I screwed up with Rami, like Tommy, Romy.
It should be noted too. Escobar is Alcides Escobar's nephew. So there's some obviously family lineage there. Good genetics.
But Patino that we got from the Dodgers, Junior said that he has everything in that tool shed. It's just what can we get out of, what can we develop out of him? So that's the biggest question that we were going back to with Ryan Fuller, and I think he's 19 if I remember right, but we're probably starting in the Dominican League. So yeah, if we ever do get to see him in our minor system in a couple of years, hopefully with the change of baloney, hopefully with the change of our international director, that we can get some more get these kids some more talent here in this organization, because we haven't seen it in a while. And but again, if you can take anyone from the Dodgers, that's what I'll be happy with as a start.
It should also be noted that none of these guys, these are all guys that were scouted with the previous White Sox regime, for if I'm not mistaken, all of them. So
Yeah.
These are guys, the seed was planted pre Chris Getz taking over, and obviously a whole new scouting department for the international. So you're not going to see the new fingerprints until probably next year's international signing class at the earliest. So I guess it's always an influx of talent. Like 98% of these guys never pan out. A whole bunch of them never make it even, past AA or AAA. So, you got to reserve judgment for a long time. These are teenage kids. All these guys are doing is signing on potential and on tools. You got a bunch of dudes down in the Dominican Republic and in Venezuela watching these guys just projecting how they're going to physically mature and trying to extrapolate what tools do they have now, what can we develop in them. Generally speaking, the White Sox don't do a whole lot of development for any of the offensive side. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure one of these guys is going to get traded at age 18 and become the next Fernando Tatis, because El Chivo has totally cursed this franchise. All right. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yes, I am proud to be a White Sox fan. Take the over.
Yikes. Gonzo?
I stand on everything I've said today.
Wow, that's worse than what I said.
I stand against everything that you've said today.
I'm actually I know you mentioned Grant Taylor, but he going through injury. Before the injury, I think he had like 16 innings or something like that, going crazy. But I want to see what he can do coming off and his recovery and going into spring training, what you can put up against the talent that's going to be out there. Which, like you said, Slav, we don't even know what we're going to see. What was that? Was that last year, the year before that? We saw the World Baseball Classic, so we didn't even get to see major league talent for like half that spring training. So I'm excited to see what these guys can do, and Grant Taylor especially, because I remember when we had Elijah on, he was right there saying that he was he was agreeing with me that it was a bold take that I had, saying that he was the second best arm in the system. Again, that was prior to the Hagen Smith being drafted, but that was a second rounder that we could have been a first rounder. He was borderline, but that's quite the arm to have in the system. And I can very well see it being Schultz, Smith, Taylor in the future. So that's all.
Go Grant Taylor. Yeah, I think he's probably one of the biggest potential risers, I think, in the White Sox system this season. Maybe not development level and getting promoted, but I think in your prospect rankings, he might be a guy that the more innings he gets, the more he can show. Shout out to you guys for this Sunday morning show. Thanks to all of our people that tuned in. Shout out to Baloney. Shout out to Justin, Jared, and everybody else that's watching and commenting along. Pitchers and catchers report in 10 days. In 10 days, we are going to see pictures of players in White Sox jerseys on a baseball field, and that shit is crazy. So let the adventure of the 25 season begin. Thanks to everybody watching. Hopefully Ozzie Jr. is done shitting himself, and he'll be on next week's show. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, download the podcast, do all the things, hit the smash that like button and subscribe for the boys. Okay, let's go White Sox. It's 2025. Thanks for watching.